In the last video, we started this two-part series of 10 laws for married men. And in that video, we covered the first 5 laws. Today, we are going to go ahead and finish up this series and cover the last 5 laws. And you'll want to make sure that you stick around for number 10 because that is the most important one. All right, let's get right into it. Law number 6, never shut down or be unwilling to talk to her. A woman's ability to talk with you is her primary means of emotional connection. So if you block that connection, she will feel distant and disengaged, and she will start to withdraw, not only emotionally, but physically as well. And ironically, most men just don't really feel the need to use talking as a means of emotional connection, especially if that talking is in the middle of a conflict. He thinks that if it's not talked about, that things will just magically get better, or ignoring it will kind of like settle things down. And maybe avoidance works for you guys. Like maybe that is the way that you guys resolve conflict in your mind, but that's not the way we resolve conflict inside of us. When a discussion starts turning from, a regular discussion, then it gets a little bit heated and then it goes into a full-blown argument. Many times men will say, I don't want to talk about it. I'm done talking about it. Or something like, you need to get over it. Well, buddy, your unwillingness to talk is the first step on the path to divorce. A woman has to be able to talk to you to resolve this internal storm that's going on in our body during a conflict. Sometimes we don't even really know what's bothering us. And it's the process of actually talking about it that we can kind of identify what the problem. It's more of like a thinking out loud type of deal. And for a man, engaging in this process is daunting. And so many times you will shut her down because you feel like it's taking too long and she's just going on. Or maybe it's a subject that you find uncomfortable to discuss, or you're hearing things you don't want to hear. But this does nothing to actually resolve the problem with her. Women have a core need of love and safety. And the primary way a woman feels loved is by feeling seen and heard. And the primary way that happens is from talking. So when you cut off her ability to talk with you, you are cutting off her ability to feel loved, and you will be opening up the ability for another man to come in and fill that hole. And when I say talking with your wife, this mainly has to do with her talking and you listening, while she mentally and verbally works things out in real time. And if you ever, as a man, have a woman saying, I'm just feeling kind of like distant from you, or that she says like, I would like to have more emotional connection with you, you should immediately translate that as that she would like you to talk to her more. And not in just some logistic base, what kind of events do we have coming up? What time does Donnie need to get to practice? Or what do we need to add to the grocery list? But in a way that actually allows her to feel seen as a person. And remember that listening does not mean necessarily that you're agreeing with her, or that I am construing that you should allow a disrespectful woman to talk to you disrespectfully, or that you should be serving as her emotional tampon. Because I get these comments. But talking things out is literally the only way a woman can move forward from a problem. And if you are unwilling to do this, you honestly probably shouldn't have gotten married. And this might seem like a harsh statement, but I would say the exact same thing to a woman who refuses to have sex with you. Because it's her primary means of an emotional connection, just like sex is your primary means for emotional connection. And if you're not willing to do that for the other person, you have no business being married. When you get married, you are indicating that you have a willingness and an ability to meet that other person's core need. If you destroy her means to emotionally connect with you by refusing to talk with her, it very well may never come back. And it's certainly okay to pause or delay a conversation. If maybe emotions get too high in the moment and you need to be able to come and stabilize those for a little bit. But she does have to know it's a pause, that it's not something where you're just cutting off and not discussing things any further. When a woman stops trying to talk to you, she has essentially given up. She is already 1 foot out the door. So never shut down her ability to talk to you. Law number 7. Never allow sex to be used as a reward. How many of you guys have ever had a wife who used sex as a motivational tool? And that's okay once in a while. But when a woman tries to use sex as a reward, more often than not, this is something that needs to not happen. And most times these are marriages that are very sexually dysfunctional. Sex is not happening very often or very regularly, and it happens just during the times when you have done some kind of bidding for her. Well, congratulations, buddy. You have been successfully trained. And I honestly don't even have a problem with sex being used as a reward in general, but sex should be a reward for her, not for you. Now, today's episode is sponsored by Cup Cozy Pillow. If you are lacking a cup holder just about anywhere, Cup Cozy Pillow has your back. Go ahead and use the link below. You'll see them listed up there. Also sold on Amazon or on our website, cupcozypillow.com. Also, I want to take a moment to let you know about my new community. It's free for the first 100 people. So I'm going to link that below. What we do is we take the information and the concepts and the ideas that we start the conversations here on YouTube, and we are able to really have more of a back and forth interaction. Sometimes you have things that you want to talk about that you're not comfortable just dropping in the comments. So go ahead and check out that new community. And also, did you know that 92% of my viewers are not subscribed? Are you friend zoning me? If we've had more than one interaction, I don't want to be in the friend zone. You guys know how that is. So go ahead and hit that like and that subscribe button, and let's start this relationship formally, okay? All right, now let's go ahead and move on. Listen, guys, the power of the P is real. I understand this. It's literally a woman's only tool. That and her words, where she might try to emasculate you, and she might try to make you feel bad for what is your normal and very healthy sex drive. But gentlemen, until you are willing to stop playing this game and take away that one tool that she has to try to control and manipulate you, you will never have that proper dynamic in marriage that actually creates the true desire, which is what you're seeking. Women do not desire controllable men. So when she tries to do this, she tries to link sex to something that you do for her. You might tell her something like this: if there's something that you need from me, or there's something you would like me to do, feel free to ask. I'm happy to hear it, but by no means will sex ever be used as a bargaining chip in this relationship. That's not how this is going to work. Now, if you say something like that to her, initially she's not going to know how to respond. But what it probably will do is make her feel tingles in all the right area, because that response is a very framed response. But Monica, if I don't do this, then I'll never get sex at all. Well, then I think you certainly need to stick around and implement rule number 10. Law number 8, never take your foot off the gas. Complacency kills more marriages than money troubles, infidelity, or any of the other common reasons that we hear as being the big marriage breakers. The things that you did to win the girl, you stopped doing once you said I do. The funny thing is too, I hear all this bait and switch murmurings from you guys. She knew she wasn't gonna have sex with me. This was all bait and switched. And yet very few of you have actually stopped to think, could it be me? Because women don't typically on a whole just say, you know what? I think today I'm just gonna not want to have sex with my husband. We don't think that way. Women are responsive creatures, and we are constantly responding to your different inputs. What we know is that at some point what you did was working, because if it wasn't, then she wouldn't have married you. So if you then simply reverse engineered those things that you were doing when you were dating each other, it's highly likely you would get those same results. But that's not what typically happens. Men, once they're married, get into this mindset of, well, I'm a good husband. I provide and protect, and that should be enough to invoke desire. But if that were true, we wouldn't be seeing the stat of 25 to 50% of marriages being sexless. So we know that providing and protecting and being a good husband is not the driving force behind her sexual desire, but it certainly can block it. If it's not there, it must come from some other thing that you're doing, some other place. And yet so many men are like, oh, I don't know what her problem is. I go to work, I paid the mortgage. Well, thank you, but so does every other man. I mean, would you not go to work? Would you not have a place to live, even if you weren't married and had kids? That's just basics. And while women do have a much greater sense of entitlement in marriage, I do think that this is the one area in marriage that you guys are more entitled than women are. Well, she should just want me because I'm here, because I exist, because I go to work and have a job. It's very much a so what. Every other man does that. So if you want better than average results in your marriage, you have to do better than average work. And I guarantee that if you brought as much energy, focus, intentionality into the relationship as you had at the beginning, your marriage would look vastly different than it is today. The fact is, we all get lazy. We all get complacent in our relationship over time. And complacency is the biggest marriage threat over every other single thing. Most of the time, it starts with our appearance. We let a few pounds creep on. Next thing you know is you're 25, 50, 75 pounds overweight. And the thing is that if your marriage were to end, you immediately go back to the gym to lose the fluff. You'd immediately start waxing, grooming yourself, dressing better to snag another hot chick, when you could have avoided all of that in the first place by doing that now with the chick you're with. And appearances are just one example. The intentional thought and effort about learning who your wife is and how her day was, and just really like being into her and being proactive and scheduling dates and not leaving everything up to your wife to run and schedule and plan. Guys, what I'm saying here is that you've stopped dating your wife. You are just as guilty of a bait and switch in her mind as she is in yours. Your wedding day was not the day to take the foot off the pedal. It was the day you started. Short-term attraction is easy. Child's play. But keeping long-term sexual attraction going is a whole different game. And if you aren't even doing the basic stuff that you were doing at the beginning of the relationship, you are far behind. And the lack of your sex life very well may be the symptom of that. Law number 9, tell her no frequently. I was on a trip to the Dominican and I met this really cute little couple and they were on their honeymoon. And I gave them some unsolicited marriage advice. And the first thing I did was I told the wife, make sure you have a lot of sex with your husband. And then I told him, make sure that you say no to her frequently. And that might be kind of weird advice, but the crux of why men do not tell their wives no when they need to tell them no is that they fear their wife. They fear the short-term backlash. They fear that she will leave. There is just way too much fear going on from the man's side. Not being able or willing to tell your wife no is a failure of the proper masculine frame and leadership. When a woman knows that you are too mentally weak to tell her no, it does nothing to create and inspire a level of safety within her. When you are very comfortable telling her no, it makes her feel very safe. She will view your mental strength very high, and she will have a high level of respect for you, which is essential for the longevity of the marriage. You have to think very much in the mindset of like being the captain. You want the passengers of your ship to have a good time. You want to listen to their input, but ultimately the things that are going to make the voyage safe really come upon your decisions. The captain cannot be afraid of the passengers. This is your boat. This is how it's going to be. This is the proper frame in which a wife can feel safe and feminine. So tell her no more frequently. And we finally made it to law number 10. And this is the one I've been telling you guys is it's the most important one of them all, which is always be willing to walk away. Now, everything I've said in the previous 9 laws are all fine and good. And if you live by them and implement them, you will likely correct the majority of the problems and have an amazing marriage. But there will be some women who are, shall we call them, unsavable, uncoachable, stubborn, not worth it, whatever you want to call them. When you have done everything necessary and required on your end, and you have showed up with the proper masculine frame, and yet your wife still shows zero interest in making any effort on her side, you may just have to show and play your ultimate trump card, which is to end the marriage. Unfortunately, divorce always has to be on the table. You always have to be willing to walk. Think about this. We all know that gut punch that we feel when we hear this sound and see those lights in the rearview mirror. I mean, it even happens to me, and I'm married to a cop. And I still get that gut punch when I'm being pulled over. And then I have an added concern because I'm always like, oh my gosh, do I look like a dumpster fire today? Because I don't want them to be like, look at Almaguir's wife. She looks like a dumpster fire. So I'm always like super grateful if I'm pulled over and I look cute that day. But why do we not speed? Because we don't like the financial consequences of what happens if we get caught. That ticket, that financial punishment is expensive. So it's the consequences of poor behavior that guide us to act in the way that we do. And in the ideal world, we would all just be fantastic, wonderful people and consider everyone else instead of ourselves. But that's not reality. The only reason that society functions is because we've all agreed to impose certain rules and boundaries upon ourselves, and marriage is just a microcosm of society in which we voluntarily agree to impose certain rules and boundaries upon ourselves, which therefore requires for it to function properly that there has to be consequences of breaking those rules. And the ultimate consequence of long-term bad behavior is to end the marriage. And there should be a ton of grace extended on both of your parts, as we're all just human and therefore highly flawed. But a woman who has repeatedly shown that she is unwilling to uphold the marriage contract and who is uncoachable and disagreeable and there's no hope in sight, the loving thing to do for yourself and for her is to leave. We all have the right to choose how we behave, but we do not have the right to escape the consequences of that behavior. And some of you guys have absolutely just refused to entertain the idea of putting divorce on the table. But what is her incentive to act right in the marriage when she knows that there's zero accountability? And honestly, I don't even see how it's possible for a woman to even respect a man who won't do that, who will just accept whatever behavior and not be willing to walk away. As a woman, I can never respect a man who has that mindset. It's the boundaries that a man creates that a woman is attracted to. It's not the man, it's the boundaries. Those boundaries make her feel safe, they make her feel secure, and when there's no boundaries, she will self-destruct. A woman has to respect you to love you. And it is impossible for a woman to love a man who doesn't even respect himself. She can act in any rotten manner whatsoever, and he won't do anything about it. Now, this does not mean that you have to constantly be threatening or trying to make things into a dictatorship. But there has to be some kind of underlying knowing within her soul that you will leave if necessary. And not only does she need to know this, but that idea of you leaving freaks her out. Because the idea of you leaving might actually sound attractive to her. So that wouldn't work. So that boundary, the ultimate consequence, the trump card of being willing to walk away has to always be there. So what do you think? Did I miss anything? And if you've made it this far, you might as well hit that like and subscribe button and stick around for this next video, which YouTube seems to think you're really gonna love. And I'll see you guys next time.